Lieutenant Daniel Carter stood at the viewport of the Earthship Pathfinder, watching the massive space station grow larger. The Galactic Council headquarters was a marvel of engineering, a spinning wheel of gleaming metal and crystal suspended against the backdrop of a blue-green gas giant. After 300 years of searching the stars for other intelligent life, humanity had finally found it. And not just one alien species, but 27 of them, all working together in what they called the Galactic Council. "Nervous?" asked Captain Lisa Dawson, stepping up beside him. Daniel nodded. "A little, wouldn't you be?" Lisa smiled. "Of course. But remember, we're representing Earth. Keep your back straight and your eyes forward." The docking procedure went smoothly, and soon a delegation of 6 humans walked through the airlock into the Council station. Daniel noticed the air was different, richer somehow, with traces of scents he couldn't identify. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth standard, making each step feel bouncy and uncertain. They were met by 3 aliens. One resembled a tall, slender deer with blue-tinted fur and 4 eyes that constantly darted around the room. Another looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard, with iridescent feathers and a long, twitching tail. The third was insectoid, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the human's images back at them like mirrors. "Welcome to Central Station," said the deer-like alien in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Calthari. We have been observing your species for some time and have learned your languages. We are pleased to finally make formal contact." The tour of the station was overwhelming. Every corridor held new wonders: artificial gravity that could be adjusted by sector, food synthesizers that could recreate any dish from any world, and translation devices that allowed instant communication between species with completely different vocal structures. But Daniel, trained to observe, noticed something strange. Every alien they encountered seemed perpetually alert, heads turning at the slightest sound, bodies positioned to move quickly if needed. It reminded him of wild deer in a forest or rabbits near a meadow's edge, prey animals constantly watching for predators. During the formal dinner that evening, Dr. Olivia Grant, the expedition's xenobiologist, leaned over to whisper to Daniel, "Have you noticed their eating habits? Even the carnivores among them eat like browsers, small, quick bites, heads up and looking around between mouthfuls." Daniel nodded. "And did you see how they all jumped when Greg dropped his fork, like they were ready to bolt?" The next day brought scientific and cultural exchanges. The council representatives were fascinated by human history, but seemed disturbed by certain aspects. "You hunted large animals by chasing them until they collapsed from exhaustion?" asked Calthari, all 4 eyes wide. "Persistence hunting," Dr. Grant explained. "Early humans couldn't run as fast as their prey, but they could run longer. We're one of the few species on Earth that can regulate body temperature through sweating, allowing us to cool down while still moving." "And this shaped your evolution?" The insectoid representative XZZT clicked its mandibles anxiously. "We believe so," said Dr. Grant. "Humans evolved strong hearts, efficient cooling, and psychological traits like determination and the ability to track prey over long distances." The council members exchanged glances that Daniel couldn't interpret. Later, in a private meeting with Captain Dawson, Ambassador Calthari was more direct. "Your species evolved from predators," the ambassador stated. "This is unusual. Every council species evolved from what you would call prey animals, creatures that survived by detecting threats quickly and escaping, not by chasing and killing." "I see," said Lisa carefully. "Does that concern you?" "It explains certain behaviors we observed while studying your planet. Your persistence, your tendency to solve problems through pursuit rather than avoidance. Even your leisure activities often involve chasing things." Calthari's ears twitched. "It is not necessarily concerning, just different." On the 3rd day of the diplomatic mission, alarms blared throughout the station. The humans were quickly ushered into a large control room where council representatives gathered around holographic displays. "What's happening?" asked Lisa. "A distress signal from mining colony Zeta 9, replied Calthari. "They report an attack by unknown forces." The displays showed a small outpost on an asteroid belt. Grainy footage revealed dark shapes moving among the buildings and terrified colonists running for shelter. "We need to send help," said Daniel. The council members looked at each other, their body language suggesting hesitation. "The colony is 3 days away at maximum speed," said the bird-like alien. "By the time any ships arrive, the attackers will be gone," finished XZZT. "As has happened 12 times before." "Wait," said Lisa. "This has happened before, 12 times. Different colonies, different sectors, but the same pattern," admitted Kalthari. "The attackers come quickly, take what they want, and disappear before response vessels arrive. Then we need to track them," said Daniel. "Follow where they go after the attacks." The council members shifted uncomfortably. "That has been attempted," said Kalthari. "But the attackers leave few traces, and they travel through dangerous regions. The ships we sent to follow them never returned." Lisa stepped forward. "The Pathfinder isn't as large or well-armed as your vessels, but it's fast and our crew is trained for exploration of unknown territories. Let us investigate." "That would be extremely dangerous," warned XZZT. "We know nothing about these attackers." "With respect," said Lisa, "humans specialize in the unknown. And sometimes what you need isn't the biggest gun, but the most determined hunter." A long silence followed her words. The council members conferred in low voices, their movements quick and nervous. Finally, Kalthari turned back to the humans. "Very well, your ship has permission to investigate. We will provide all the data from previous attacks and assign a council observer to your mission." As they left the control room to prepare the Pathfinder for departure, Dr. Grant fell into step beside Daniel and Lisa. "Did you notice?" she asked quietly. "When we volunteered to track these attackers, they looked at us the way prey animals look at predators, a mixture of fear and fascination." Daniel thought about this as they walked toward the docking bay. Humanity had come into space hoping to find friends among the stars. Instead, they had found species fundamentally different from themselves in ways they hadn't imagined. "We evolved to hunt," he said finally. "They evolved to flee. I wonder what that means for our place in the galaxy." Lisa's expression was determined as the airlock to their ship came into view. "It means we do what humans have always done. We protect those who can't protect themselves. If something is threatening these colonies, we find it, we track it, and we stop it." The Pathfinder departed from Central Station within hours, stocked with supplies and information, heading toward a distant asteroid belt and whatever waited there. The hunt had begun. The Pathfinder dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Through the main viewport, the crew could see the remains of mining colony Zeta-9 scattered across the asteroid belt. Pieces of metal and rock drifted in slow, sad circles. "Life signs?" asked Captain Lisa Dawson, her voice steady despite the destruction before them. Communications Officer Sam Wright shook his head. "None, Captain. No distress beacons either." Zertle, the deer-like council observer assigned to their mission, made a soft keening sound. "We are too late, as always." "We're not here to rescue," said Chief Security Officer Jack Miller. "We're here to hunt. And the first rule of hunting is to find the trail." Lisa nodded. "Prepare a search team. I want to know what happened here. And I want to know which way they went when they left." The mining colony had been built into a cluster of large asteroids connected by sealed tunnels. The search team, led by Daniel Carter, moved carefully through the ruins. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing scenes of panic and flight. Personal belongings scattered on floors, half-eaten meals, doors left open. "No bodies," noted Daniel, checking another empty room. "The attackers take the people," said Zertle, whose 4 eyes allowed him to look in all directions at once. "In all previous attacks, no colonists were ever found." Maria Martinez, the ship's engineer, examined a torn metal wall. "These aren't weapon marks. Looks like something cut through the metal. Something with claws or tools designed for breaking into structures." Daniel ran his gloved hand along the edge of the tier, methodical. "They knew exactly where to cut to." "Breach the colony's defenses." Jack Miller entered data into his tablet. Colony's logs show the attack lasted less than 20 minutes. That's not much time to overwhelm defenses, round up all colonists, and disappear. They're efficient, said Daniel. And they've done this before. Back on the Pathfinder, the search team reported their findings to Captain Dawson and Dr. Grant. The main screen displayed images from the colony. No conventional engine signatures in the area, said Lisa. So how do we track them? Dr. Grant studied the data. In ancient Earth, hunters would look for broken branches, disturbed soil, or footprints. What's the space equivalent? Maria snapped her fingers. Radiation. Even ships with stealth technology disturb the natural radiation patterns of space when they pass through, like ripples in a pond. Can we detect these ripples? Asked Lisa. Standard sensors aren't designed for it, Maria admitted. But I could modify our sensor array to detect subtle changes in the background radiation of space, Lisa nodded. Do it. For 6 hours, Maria and her engineering team worked to reconfigure the Pathfinder sensors. Meanwhile, Dr. Grant interviewed Zertle about the previous attacks. Always the same pattern, Zertle explained, ears twitching nervously. Small colonies, quick attacks, everyone taken, no witnesses ever found. And the Council's response? Asked Dr. Grant. We send ships to investigate, sometimes to follow. But the attackers use dangerous routes, through asteroid fields, near unstable stars. Our captains choose not to pursue when the risk becomes too great. Zertle lowered his voice. It is our nature to preserve life, not to endanger it further. Doctor. Grant nodded thoughtfully. Different evolutionary paths lead to different instinctive responses. Maria's voice came over the intercom. Captain, sensors are ready. We're picking up something. On the bridge, Maria displayed a 3D map of the surrounding space. Faint purple lines showed disturbances in the background radiation, leading away from the mining colony. The trail is already fading, said Maria. But I can follow it if we move now. Set course, ordered Lisa. Maximum safe speed. The Pathfinder accelerated, following the faint radiation trail through the asteroid belt and toward open space. After 2 hours, they reached a point where the trail changed direction sharply. They made a jump to faster-than-light travel here, said Maria. But our modified sensors can detect residual warp particles. They went ... way. Lisa nodded. Follow them. Zertle stepped forward, his slender frame trembling slightly. Captain Dawson, Council protocol suggests we should return to report our findings and wait for reinforcements. With respect, Zertle, said Daniel, by the time reinforcements arrive, this trail will be cold. If we want to find these attackers, we need to follow now. This is not a military vessel, Zertle insisted. You are not equipped to confront an enemy that has destroyed multiple colonies. We're not planning to attack them, said Lisa, just to find them. Learn who they are and why they're doing this. Jack Miller laughed quietly. The first hunters on Earth didn't carry rifles, Zertle. They carried determination and the will to follow wherever the tracks led. The Pathfinder jumped to faster-than-light travel, following the fading trail of the attackers. They passed through 3 star systems, each time finding the trail growing fainter but still detectable thanks to Maria's modified sensors. In the mess hall during a rest period, Daniel found Zertle staring out a viewport at the stars. You think we're making a mistake? Daniel said, sitting across from the alien. I think you are acting according to your nature, as we act according to ours, replied Zertle. For millions of years, my ancestors survived by detecting danger and running from it. For millions of years, your ancestors survived by finding prey and catching it. Different solutions to the same problem, survival. Yes, but your solution made you the most dangerous species on your planet. Zertle's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You never learned when to stop. Before Daniel could respond, the ship's alarm sounded. They rushed to the bridge. We found something, said Lisa, pointing to the main screen. A massive space station hung against the backdrop of a dying red star, its structure irregular and dark. No energy signatures, reported Sam Wright. It appears abandoned. Appearances can be deceiving, said Jack. I'm detecting trace elements, consistent with the radiation trail we've been following. They were here, and recently? That station doesn't match any council design, said Zertle, his voice barely above a whisper. We should call for reinforcements. An alert chimed on the communications console. Sam checked the message and looked up with concern. It's from the council. They're ordering us to cease pursuit immediately and return to council space. They say we've crossed into a restricted zone. All eyes turned to Captain Dawson. She studied the dark station on the screen, then looked at her crew, humans who had evolved from hunters, who had crossed the stars seeking knowledge regardless of danger. Send a reply, she said finally. Tell them with all due respect, humans have never been good at giving up the chase. We'll continue our investigation and report what we find. The Pathfinder moved silently toward the abandoned station, lights dimmed to avoid detection. The hunt had led them here, to this forgotten corner of space. Whatever waited inside that station, they would face it, not because they were fearless, but because thousands of generations of human evolution had taught them that the only way past fear was through it. The Pathfinder docked with the abandoned space station, magnetic clamps securing it to the dark metal hull. The station hung silent against the red glow of the dying star, its irregular shape suggesting it had been built in stages over many years. No. Power readings, said Maria, checking her instruments. Life support systems are offline, Captain Lisa Dawson nodded. We go in with full environmental suits. Jack, select your team. Daniel, you're with me, Dr. Grant. I want you on this mission. If we find anything biological, we need your expertise. Zertle stepped forward, his 4 eyes blinking nervously. I request to join the away team. The council would expect me to observe. Lisa studied the alien for a moment. Can you handle yourself in a potentially dangerous situation? My species evolved to detect threats before they became dangerous, Zertle replied. I may see things your team misses. All right, suit up. The boarding team moved through the airlock and into the station. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing corridors of strange design. The walls were curved rather than straight, with odd protrusions at regular intervals. This architecture doesn't match any known council species, whispered Dr. Grant. Daniel ran his gloved hand along one wall. These surfaces, they're not metal, more like hardened resin. Like a nest, said Dr. Grant. Some earth insects build structures from secreted materials. They moved deeper into the station, passing empty chambers and dark corridors. In one large room, they found what looked like sleeping pods arranged in rows. Empty, reported Jack, scanning each pod. But they've been used recently. Daniel pointed his light at the floor. Look, marks here, leading that way. The team followed the drag marks to another section of the station. Here, they found evidence of habitation, containers with unknown substances, tools of strange design, and machines whose purpose they could only guess at. This looks like a processing center, said Dr. Grant, examining a large cylindrical device. But processing what? Lisa's voice was grim. Or who? A sudden noise made them all turn. Zertle's body had gone rigid, his ears fully extended. Movement, he whispered. 3 corridors down, multiple entities. Jack signaled his security team to take defensive positions. Lisa, Daniel, and Dr. Grant pressed themselves against the wall. They waited, listening. The sound grew louder, a strange clicking and chittering that echoed through the station's curved corridors. Then came a high-pitched sound that seemed to vibrate through their bodies. Zertle suddenly collapsed to his knees, his 4 eyes wide with terror. What is it? Daniel asked, kneeling beside the alien. Fear? Double quotes, gasped Zertle. They're projecting fear. All prey species respond to these frequencies, an ancient response we cannot control. Dr. Grant checked her instruments. Some kind of sound outside human hearing range, combined with pheromones, designed to paralyze with fear. Good thing we're not prey, said Lisa. She helped Zertle to his feet. Stay with us, we'll protect you. The clicking grew louder. Then they saw them, dark shapes moving in the shadows. Tall, insect-like creatures with multiple limbs and elongated heads. Their bodies seem to absorb light rather than reflect it. Void shadows, whispered Zertle, the ancient enemy. They cannot be real. They were destroyed eons ago. One of the creatures stepped forward. It raised two limbs and made a series of clicks and whistles. It's trying to communicate, said Dr. Grant. Sam Wright's voice came through their helmet combs. Captain, I'm running this through our translation matrix. It's similar to some ancient council language patterns. More clicks and whistles. Then Sam's voice again. It's asking why we're not afraid. Why we're not running. Lisa stepped forward, facing the creature. We are humans. We don't run from the unknown. We seek to understand it. The creature's head tilted, as if confused. It made more sounds. It says humans are wrong, translated Sam. Not proper prey, defective. Dr. Grant moved beside Lisa. Tell it we're not prey at all. We evolved as predators. When Sam translated this, the effect was immediate. The creatures chittered excitedly among themselves. The lead creature stepped closer, examining the humans with what seemed like new interest. Captain, said Dr. Grant quietly, I think I understand what's happening. These void shadows, they evolved to hunt the species that would later form. The Council. They're ancient predators who expect all intelligent life to react as prey. But we don't, said Daniel. Exactly. We're breaking their fundamental understanding of how intelligent species behave. The lead creature made more sounds, longer and more complex. It's saying the void between galaxies is cold and empty, translated Sam. They left long ago when food became scarce, when prey learned to fight back. Now they've returned to find. Easy hunting again. The mining colonies, said Lisa. They're not just attacking, they're harvesting. The creature's next communication confirmed her suspicion. The colonists were taken as food and hosts for their young. The void shadows had been raiding the galaxy's edge for years, always choosing isolated colonies, always disappearing before the Council could respond. Because the Council species always react the same way, said Daniel. They investigate after the fact, but never pursue. Never hunt. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. The creatures became agitated, their movements quick and jerky. What's happening? Lisa demanded. Sam's voice was urgent in their combs. Captain, I'm detecting power surges throughout the station, and there's a large vessel approaching, much bigger than the Pathfinder. The lead void shadow made a final series of clicks and whistles, then turned and ran with surprising speed. It said, the nest calls. The harvest must continue. You are interesting but few. We seek many, translated Sam. They're leaving, said Jack, watching the creatures disappear down a corridor. Lisa tapped her comm. Maria, can you track their ship when it leaves? Already modified the sensors for it, Captain, replied Maria. But what about us? We need to get back to the Pathfinder. Fall back to the airlock, ordered Lisa. But first ... She turned to Jack. Set charges. If this is their nest, let's make it uninhabitable. As they retreated through the station, Dr. Grant managed to collect samples and data. Zertle, still shaking from the fear effect, stayed close to Daniel. You don't understand what you're facing, the alien whispered. The void shadows hunted our ancestors to near extinction. They're the reason all council species evolved heightened flight responses. Then it's time they faced a species that evolved to hunt, replied Daniel. They reached the Pathfinder just as the station began to shake. Through the viewport, they saw a massive carrier ship detach from the far side of the station. It was black as space itself, almost invisible, except for the stars it blocked. Tracking their energy signature, reported Maria as the Pathfinder. Disengaged from the station, Jack's explosives detonated, sending shockwaves through the station. Sections broke apart, drifting into the red glow of the dying star. Should we pursue? Asked Sam as the carrier ship moved away from the station. Lisa watched the void shadow vessel, her expression determined. Not yet. First, we need to understand what we're hunting, and we need to warn Earth and the Council. Sam looked up from his communications station, his face pale. Captain, I've been intercepting transmissions from that carrier. They're calling for reinforcements. From beyond the galaxy's edge, the hunt had taken an unexpected turn. The humans had found their prey, only to discover they were being hunted as well, but unlike the council species, they would not run. They would plan, they would prepare. And when the time came, they would show the void shadows what it meant to be hunted by humans. The Pathfinder raced back toward council space, pushing its engines beyond recommended limits. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Dawson reviewed the data they had collected from the abandoned station. "How long until we reach the nearest council outpost?" she asked. 12 hours at current speed, replied Sam Wright from the helm. "I've sent emergency messages ahead, but the council seems reluctant to believe our reports about the void shadows." Zertle, who had finally stopped trembling hours after their encounter, stepped forward. "They will believe. The void shadows are part of our oldest stories, our deepest fears. They shaped our evolution, but they were thought extinct after the Great Purge, millions of years ago." In the science lab, Dr. Olivia Grant studied the samples they had collected. Daniel Carter watched over her shoulder as she examined cellular structures under a microscope. "Fascinating," she murmured. "The void shadows aren't a single species. They're a collective of parasitic organisms that take over host bodies." "Like the colonists they captured," said Daniel, his voice grim. "Exactly. They use the host bodies for labor and resources, while their true form lives inside, controlling everything." She looked up at him. "And according to these readings, they're incredibly ancient, far older than humanity." "How do we fight something like that?" Dr. Grant shook her head. "I don't know yet, but their fear-inducing signals don't affect us. That's already an advantage." When they arrived at the council outpost, they were met with a delegation of high-ranking officials from various species. The Pathfinder crew was immediately escorted to a secure meeting chamber. Commander Diane Lopez, Earth's military representative to the council, was waiting for them. Her uniform was crisp, her expression serious. "Captain Dawson," she said, "your ship was ordered to return days ago. The council is not pleased." "With respect, Commander, we found something that couldn't wait," replied Lisa. "The void shadows are real, and they're planning something big?" The meeting that followed was tense. The council representatives listened to the Pathfinder crew's report, their reactions ranging from disbelief to terror. When Dr. Grant presented her findings about the parasitic nature of the void shadows, several representatives had to leave the room. "This is why we have protocols," said a tall insect-like council member. "Restricted zones exist for a reason. You have awakened an ancient enemy." "They were already awake," countered Jack Miller. "They've been attacking your colonies for years. You just weren't willing to hunt them down. And now we have confirmed intelligence that they're gathering a much larger force," added Lisa. "They're calling in reinforcements from beyond the galaxy." Bird-like council member ruffled its feathers anxiously. "Then we must evacuate the outer colonies immediately. Pull back to the core worlds where our defenses are strongest. Run and hide?" Daniel couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. "That's your solution?" "It is how our species have survived for millions of years," the council member replied. Commander Lopez stood up. "The Earth delegation has a different proposal." All eyes turned to her. "You've spent millennia running from predators. We've spent millennia becoming better ones." She activated a holographic display showing Earth military vessels. "We have ships. We have weapons. And most importantly, we have the psychological makeup to take the fight to the enemy rather than waiting for them to come to us." "What are you suggesting?" asked a jellyfish-like council member, its translucent body pulsing with nervous light. "A joint operation," said Lopez. "Earth provides strategic leadership and combat forces. The Council provides technology, resources, and intelligence about the enemy." The Council members conferred among themselves, speaking in hushed tones and quick nervous movements. Finally, the insect-like member turned back to the humans. "Your species is young and does not understand the void shadows. They cannot be defeated through direct confrontation. They are too numerous, too ancient, too clever. Maybe that's true, said Lisa, stepping forward. But there's something you don't understand about humans. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. The same instincts that drove us to hunt now drive us to protect. The same persistence that helped us chase prey now gives us the will to stand our ground. Daniel nodded. Throughout our history, humans have proven most dangerous not when fighting for themselves, but when protecting others. A silence fell over the room. Then Zertle, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. I was on the Pathfinder. I saw these humans face the void shadows without fear. I saw them think clearly when I was paralyzed with terror. His ears twitched. Perhaps evolution has given us complementary strengths. Our ability to detect danger early, their ability to confront it directly. Slowly, reluctantly, the Council agreed to a limited joint operation. Earth vessels would be allowed to establish defensive positions at key points near the outer colonies. Council scientists would work with human military strategists to develop new weapons against the void shadows. Over the next weeks, human military personnel arrived in Council space. Training programs were established to help Council species overcome their instinctive fear responses. Dr. Grant led a team, researching countermeasures against the void shadows. Biological attacks. Daniel found himself working closely with Zertle, who had volunteered to help train other council members. Why did you stay? Daniel asked during a rare quiet moment. Most of your people want nothing to do with this fight. Zertle's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Because you showed me something on that station. When I was paralyzed with fear, you did not abandon me, you protected me. He paused. My species evolved to run from danger. But perhaps we can learn to stand when we have friends who will stand with us. In the command center, Lisa and Commander Lopez reviewed the latest intelligence. Reports: the Void Shadow Fleet was growing, gathering at the edge of the galaxy. They'll attack within days, said Lopez. And according to these numbers, they have enough ships to overwhelm our current defenses. Lisa studied the tactical display. Then we don't wait for them to attack. We set a trap. What kind of trap works against an enemy this powerful? Lisa smiled grimly. The kind that uses their nature against them. They evolved to hunt prey that runs away. But what happens when the prey turns and fights? What happens when the predator becomes the hunted? As she outlined her plan, officers from both Earth and the Council listened with growing interest. It was bold, dangerous, and unlike anything the Council would have considered on their own. This goes against all our instincts, said a council. Admiral, its tentacles waving nervously. Exactly, replied Lisa, and that's why it might just work. The combined fleet began preparations, moving into positions that would have seemed like retreat to anyone who didn't understand the full plan. At key points throughout the outer systems, human ships waited in ambush, while Council vessels prepared to spring the trap. The hunt was about to enter its final phase. And this time, the humans were not just tracking their prey, they were luring it into a trap millions of years in the making. The combined fleet waited in the shadows of a gas giant, engines powered down, weapons ready. According to the plan, this outer colony system had been abandoned as part of a strategic retreat. In reality, it was bait in an elaborate trap. On the bridge of the Earth flagship Dauntless, Captain Lisa Dawson watched the tactical display. Beside her stood Zertle, now serving as the official council liaison. Any sign of them? She asked. Not yet, replied Sam Wright, who had been transferred to the Dauntless along with most of the Pathfinder's crew. But our long-range sensors are picking up disturbances at the edge of the system. Zertle's ears twitched. They will come. The void shadows cannot resist what appears to be easy prey. The plan was simple but dangerous. Make the void shadows believe they had found an abandoned colony ripe for harvesting. Let them commit their forces. Then spring the trap with the combined might of Earth and Council ships. All ships report ready, said Commander Lopez from her station. Council vessels are in position, though their captains are nervous. They should be, said Daniel Carter. We all should be. But being afraid doesn't mean you run. Sometimes it means you fight harder. Hours passed. Then the sensors lit up. A massive fleet of Void Shadow vessels entered the system, moving toward the colony. Their ships were black against the darkness of space, visible mainly as silhouettes. Blocking the stars. They took the bait, whispered Lisa. Hold positions. Wait for them to fully commit. The Void Shadow ships surrounded the colony. Smaller vessels detached from the main fleet and descended to the planet's surface. Now, ordered Lisa. The combined fleet powered up and moved from their hiding places. Earth ships attacked from one direction, while Council vessels emerged from the other. The Void Shadows were caught in a classic pincer movement. The battle was fierce. The Void Shadow ships were heavily armed and piloted with brutal efficiency. But they had never faced an enemy that chose to hunt them rather than flee. They're adapting to our tactics, reported Jack Miller, now serving as weapons officer on the Dauntless. Changing formation to break through our lines, Lisa nodded. That's what predators do when their hunting pattern is disrupted. They look for a new approach. She turned to Lopez. Implement Phase 2. New orders flashed to the fleet. The formation changed, with Council ships pulling back slightly while Earth vessels pressed the attack. To the Void Shadows, it appeared that the prey species were retreating, falling back to their instinctive behavior. They're taking the bait, said Lopez as the Void Shadow fleet adjusted, focusing their attacks on the Council ships and opening gaps in their own formation. All ships, execute pattern Hunter's Arrow, ordered Lisa. The Earth vessels suddenly changed course, driving straight into the gaps in the Void Shadow formation. Meanwhile, the retreating Council ships reversed direction, their advanced weapons firing with devastating accuracy. On the Void Shadow command ship, confusion reigned. Their prey was not behaving as prey should. When the Council ships appeared to retreat, the Void Shadows had fallen into their own instinctive hunting pattern, only to find themselves now surrounded. Their flagship is isolated, reported Sam. Shields failing. All ships, focus fire on their command vessel, ordered Lisa. The combined firepower of Earth and Council ships tore through the Void Shadow flagship. It broke apart in a series of explosions that lit up the darkness of space. Without central coordination, the remaining Void Shadow ships fell into disarray. Some attempted to flee, others fought with desperate ferocity. Don't let them escape, Lisa commanded. If even one gets away, they'll warn the others beyond the galaxy's edge. The battle continued for hours. Earth ships pursued the fleeing Void Shadows with relentless determination, while Council vessels used their superior sensors to track those trying to hide. When it was over, the combined fleet had suffered heavy losses, but not a single Void Shadow ship had escaped. Search and rescue teams to all damaged vessels, ordered Lisa, and send recovery teams to the colony. There may be colonists who were being processed. Days later, the Galactic Council convened a special session. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from all 27 member species, plus a delegation from Earth. The Council's prime speaker, a graceful being with antelope-like features, addressed the assembly. For millions of years, our species evolved to run from danger. It took meeting humans to teach us when to stand and fight. The speaker's gaze swept the chamber. Today, we offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges. Captain Dawson stepped forward to accept on behalf of Earth. We are honored to join the Council, and we pledge to use our unique evolutionary heritage not to conquer, but to protect. The ceremony was followed by a celebration unlike any the Council had seen before. Species that had once regarded humans with suspicion now sought them out. Curious about these strange beings who faced danger head-on in a quiet corner, Daniel found Zertle talking with Dr. Grant. The Council alien's posture was different now, still alert, but no longer perpetually poised to flee. We're establishing a new field of study, Dr. Grant explained when Daniel joined them. Comparative evolutionary psychology. Examining how different evolutionary paths create different approaches to survival. And different ways of thinking, added Zertle. Your people see threats as challenges to overcome. Mine see them as dangers to avoid. Both have value. Speaking of new approaches, said Daniel, the Council has approved our proposal for a joint security force. Teams of humans and Council species working together, combining our pursuit instincts with your detection abilities. I have volunteered to be among the first, said Zertle, his ears held high with pride. Across the room, Captain Dawson stood at a viewport looking out at the stars. Commander Lopez joined her. The recovered colonists are doing well, said Lopez. And the Council scientists have developed a way to detect Void Shadow infiltration before it takes hold. And the captured Void Shadow? Asked Lisa. Contained in a research facility. It's helping us understand predatory consciousness in ways we never imagined. Dr. Grant thinks it might even help bridge understanding between humans and Council species. Lisa nodded, still gazing at the stars. When we first developed, faster than light travel, we wondered if we'd find friends out there, or enemies. And instead we found both, said Lopez. And something else too. What's that? A purpose. We evolved to hunt, but we chose to protect, Lopez smiled. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. Beyond the viewport, the galaxy spread out. Before them, no longer divided into predator and prey, but united in a new understanding. Evolution had shaped each species differently, but the future they would build together would be shaped by choice, not instinct. The hunt was over. The real journey was just beginning.